thing I wanted to say is, don't be fooled by the internet. It's cool. It's cool to get on the computer, but don't let the computer get on you. It's cool. It's cool to use the computer. Don't let the computer use you. You all saw The Matrix. There's a war going on. The battlefield's in the mind. And the prize is the soul. So, just be careful. Be very careful. Thank you.
Make room for life's biggest achievements. CubeSmart has convenient self-storage for every milestone in life.
That Prince was kind of a futurist. This is probably in 1991 or 2. I remember sitting in his office. He says to me, he said, one day, all music is going to be sold over computers. What's a computer have to do with music? He didn't elaborate. He just figured out, you're not ready. You don't understand. And I did.
And then you learn so much. I'm really looking forward to the future now. James Brown played a big influence on my style. He influenced me by his control over his group, dancing girls, his apples, and his oranges. Favorite song?
Soft and Wet by the artist formerly known as Prince.
Seeing a James Brown show is like seeing a great preacher in a cathedral. The James would be spectacular, the band would be fantastic, the band would be interweaving with dancing, the movement, just build with this symphonic crescendo, and we just leave you breathless at the end of the evening. You would just build until bang, it was start time, and he would come out, and he would just walk out. I mean, he worked. He was the hardest working man in show business. This cat came on stage, and there was something unbelievable about it. He would do a move, wham, and you just couldn't believe it. He took a microphone, and just crawl back and jump, and it was like, if you blink, you were afraid you were going to miss something. It was totally spectacular, totally spectacular. And, just some of the interweaving of music when he got up.
Pretty commercial, actually. I mean, Diamonds and Pearls.
I was with this huge coat on. The smoke was real. My toes were freezing. But it was, in spite of all of that, we had such a good time.
And then we had another component.
I said something to the effect of, I didn't understand why my team was all involved in everything all of a sudden. Like, what was her significance? He said to be real. He was like, well, listen, I understand how you feel, but this record is basically centered around her, and the tour really ain't going to work without her.
We should have known this was coming. We were already working on all the tracks already. Just flip them up a little bit, put a little bit something else on it, take some of the chicken grease off, put something else on it. You don't know what's going to be pulled together. You're just constantly creating. There was hundreds of songs done. You have to understand who he is and how he is as an artist. And he changes so much, man. So are we ready for that change? Probably not.
You need to have a record.
Not talking about every other artist.
The studio wanted to release 7 as the first single.
The record company would have a bit of trouble with the choice, but that didn't change it. He defined what it would be.
He wanted My Name is Prince first. Ultimately, they did go with what he wanted, but he was bothered by the fact that the decision was open to discussion at all.
Warner Brothers didn't really censor my music. The problems we had were with ownership of what it was that I created.
There are certain artists out there who were doing it on their own, like a Prince.
Prince wasn't like most artists. He had his own massive studio. He needed the relationship for distribution, and he was becoming more and more uncomfortable with what he had to give up on his side, commercial control of his music.
Recently, we had this album called Once You Are in Love, with Prince, and it had all the jams on it. It was You know, I was impressed. You go to Warner's to license your own music from them, and you can't get a call back. Stuff like that. I mean, I could do so many wonderful marketing things with my own music if I had complete control.
He called me in after he had delivered a record to Warner's, and the subject matter had once again become the fact that he was giving Warner's product too quickly. They weren't in a hurry to put out another record. And this would have been 1990, 1991. He was expressing to me, you know, we've got to find another way to get music to the public. What if we went to late night television and did like these oldies packages and we marketed a record on our own label to the public, and we just sold it by mail order, television adverts late at night, and people write to post office box, whatever, and we sell it through the mail. And I said, yeah, that's great, except for one problem. You're under contract to Warner Brothers. You can't legally do that. Well, then we'll put a different name on it. Instead of Prince, we'll put something else. He was serious. And I said, yeah, but Prince, pretend you're Mo Austin. What would you do? You're going to get a cease and desist. And you're going to legally prevent us from doing that. I knew then that he was going to figure out some way to beat the system.
He was going against the system. He wrote this stuff, he recorded this stuff, and yet he didn't own it. It was an extraordinarily awkward and difficult time.
Prince was both prophetic and way ahead of his time when it came to understanding the effect that the digital age would have on the music industry. You must understand that this was a guy who was already looking for alternative means to market and promote music to the public.
Probably 98% of artists would have their managers deal with the record company on everything because they can't be bothered. And that's what they hire the managers to do, because the managers are business people. So they know how to talk to the suits at the record company. That didn't stop Prince from picking up the phone and calling Mo directly. I'm sure he did it on a regular basis.
More often, and you know, screening matches on the master's track. And then, well, you can't get your master's track. You gave us $1 billion. Make a statement like that means that I don't really have any power over there. Now, somebody I thought I was hiring to be my distribution company, I thought I was hired.
And it's because I'm explaining to him, no, this is why this has to work this way. And it's like, well, he just didn't want it to work that way.
I mean, it wasn't comfortable, but Prince has never been known to try to make you feel comfortable.
He wasn't the type of person who would fake it for your benefit. So sometimes we'd come to Basin to rehearse and get called to his office, and he'd have to vent about Mo Austin. Whatever Prince was going through, because we were around him, he was always talking about it, so we knew what was going on. So, no, you couldn't really separate.
Some people just find things fortunate and cool with that. I just would like to see an alternate system, and I'd be cool. But there's no way right now for people to get seen or heard unless somebody that has nothing to do with creative stuff gets paid.
I want to be able to sell that for all of time. You can rent it, you can borrow it, for a little bit. We can all get paid.
We all went through that trauma together.
When a man is free, and it puts him closer to God, first of all. The path is open to get to God. When one completely listens to one's inspiration and inner voice, you will create things out of it that will lead you towards enlightenment.
Prince, he has never been one who easily gives up control.